Glad you're streaming with us. Well, they beat, handcuffed, and sexually assaulted 2 black men and their sheriff deputies. One of the victims even shot in the mouth. Well, another one of those deputies that all admitted to the crimes in committing these horrifying and dehumanizing attacks on these victims in Mississippi. Well, they've been sentenced to years in prison. This one in particular, 27 years in prison now.
So the deputies, this is all taking place in Mississippi, Rankin County, Mississippi. They say they tried to cover it all up after doing it. ABC News' Morgan Norwood joins us now with what happened so far in court today. Brett McAlpin, Morgan, I guess, was sentenced today. Tell us about it.
Yeah, you know, throughout this sentencing phase, you know, we've heard from the judge, but we've also been able to hear from this so-called goon squad, the judge calling them despicable. And during the sentencing phase, again, we've heard the horrific details of that brutal beating and torture. Former Sheriff's Deputy Brett McAlpin sentenced today to close to 27 years in prison. He's one of the last 2 to learn their fate. Not only did he take part in that brutal beating of the men that you just laid out, he also served as the lookout and threatened to kill other officers if they spoke up about this. McAlpin nodded to his family in the courtroom today wearing that orange jumpsuit and offered an apology before the judge read the sentence. He said, quote, "This was all very wrong, going on to say, quote, I'm really sorry for being a part of something that made law enforcement look so bad." We understand that he didn't directly address the victims in that courtroom, guys.
You know, this is one of these stories where you have to give context. I mean, we're talking about Mississippi, where Emmett Till was beaten and killed.
And
you know,
countless others.
Yes, and that's what led to the civil rights movement. It's like we have gone completely backwards, and now you have these sheriff's deputies, calling it, they are a goon squad, you know, carrying out the same type of brutal attacks that happened decades ago. Like, haven't they learned from history? Hasn't this state learned from history? I just want to know what's going to happen to this sheriff who says he's not going anywhere. And then I am told, Morgan, right, that the last you know, deputy, a part of this goon squad, is going to be sentenced. I mean, the legal trouble is not over for any of these folks.
You know, far from over, and I'm glad that you guys mentioned just the history and the context of Mississippi. Is something that I know personally as I was born in that state, but the legal battle is far from over in terms of the remaining members of this goon squad. And that leaves Joshua Hartfield, former Richland police officer who tased the 2 men as they were being handcuffed and then tried to get rid of that evidence. You know, to that point, based on the sentences already handed up in his co-defendants, you know, he's looking at decades in prison as well. And I just want to point out, you know, the whole point of these, you know, heavy-handed sentences was to send a strong message that, you know, we're not going to go backwards, you know, in time and relive the trauma. But in terms of what this means for the victims in this case, speaking of trauma, this has been very difficult for them, right? Their attorneys saying this week that they still struggle, you know, with the enduring trauma, the mental aspect of this brutal attack. Eddie Parker says he forgives the officers. However, Michael Jenkins says he is not quite there yet. As for what's next, and, you know, they haven't been sentenced yet on the state charges. That is to come. So we could be looking at much more prison time on top of what they've been sentenced for today. But in addition, this so-called goon squad is now looking at a $400 million federal lawsuit. So again, the legal battle is far from over, guys.
Yeah, and it should continue, and more people need to be held accountable, including the sheriff who said he had no idea of this behavior that was taking place, which is so not true. And you're not talking about just one deputy, you're talking about 6. I mean, this is a cultural problem. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And Morgan, didn't know you were from Mississippi, so I'm sure, you know, this hits you much differently and your family. So I'm glad we're talking about it. Things need to change. Thanks, Morgan.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.